Then the third component is to make sure that we're setting the rules of the road appropriately so that we can spur market innovation. And what that means is to have as many open data standards as possible. One of the big debates in energy, for example, is, by the way, if anyone drives a Prius, one of the interesting research questions is part of the cost savings or the mileage improvement, how much of that is driven by the visualization of how much you're consuming when you're driving versus the actual hybrid engine? Researchers say that roughly 20% of the improvement is because it shows you in real time what your fuel efficiency is, and so people are kind of gaming their throttle so that they can try to get it to be the highest it possibly is. So this notion of open data standards is we're going to spend billions of dollars wiring up the energy grid, which is to make sure that we have a capacity here to learn. Imagine if you could consume data that tells you how much of the energy usage you've got by time of day. Some entrepreneur, I promise you, if we do this right, will build a neat little app that will allow you to see where you're spiking your energy usage by the day and to test whether or not you're, if you delayed your laundry 2 hours, you could avoid the peak load that we have in the network and you could really find some efficiencies. Might the visualization of that data, which is produced in an open format, make it easier for you to be energy conscious and perhaps to even save some money at the same time? So this notion of open standards to spur entrepreneurs to get in there and produce new widgets and toys and capabilities that you're going to want to buy, all connected to the grid, will be an area of great interest to me. So these platforms are a lot of what I have focused on, which is to say, can we think of innovation in these dimensions so that we can make some honest investments and frankly to spur private investment to try some game-changing opportunity that will have an impact that we don't yet know. If I tried to predict what's the best tool for you to buy in order to reduce your energy consumption, I would design something horrible. And it would be government-led and probably wrong. But if we set the data standards right and created these platforms, someone's going to iterate and figure it out, and along will come a product you're all going to love. It'll be from a company we may not have heard of, and I'm looking forward to seeing that level of entrepreneurship. But it begs the question about how this is relevant for us in local communities. Because to me, the heart of the President's vision for technology and innovation starts with the notion that we have to take the discussion of policymaking in Washington out of Washington. And what that means is finding ways to find local communities where folks can engage on the kind of issues that they would like to see progress made against. And to find a way to link those community conversations just down the street so that we're making the right policy. Somewhere, someone in this community is going to design a protocol or an idea or a problem to say, hey, how do we promote more mentorship for science and math learning so that the neighborhood can get kids to be a little bit more effective and we can promote the workforce of the 21st century? There might be some policies or tools or game-changing innovations that we could use to help make this happen. For example, how many of you have downloaded a copy of the curriculum that's been approved by the Virginia State Standards? Probably none of you. But a lot of you, if some entrepreneur consumed that information and made it accessible, you could probably make it a little bit easier to say, you know what, in Arlington, based on the data, this particular 6th grade algebra function of fractions is really, really problematic. And by the way, we figured this out. Only of all the test scores in Virginia, 6th grade algebra, pre-algebra, is the #1 problem. 68% of the kids pass, but that means 32% fail. So if we targeted the community and say, hey, let's get some volunteers to teach some kids in on fractions, we could really help make a difference. Today, that is information I doubt, Stan, our community association has access to. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I would highly doubt that it's been served up in a way that makes it useful. So I will measure a lot of my success in my ability to spur that kind of community action. Tell me what it is that you'd like to help on reducing energy costs, improving our healthcare quality, and addressing our educational challenges. And we'll find ways to produce the kind of platform, if you will, to spur someone to come up with those kinds of ideas, and to do so in a way that will make the community feel like we are organized to have an impact. I'll end with this broader notion. By the way, we keep saying in these quotes that Stan referenced, the state of Virginia. Aneesh came out of the state of Virginia. We are a commonwealth. And what was interesting about that is I never really appreciated what that meant. Living here, frankly, in Arlington, you're so subsumed with DC wanting to be a state, and Maryland is a state, but we've got issues with them. We didn't really celebrate this notion of what a commonwealth meant, but we approached the Jamestown anniversary, the 400th anniversary of 2007, and Governor Kane spent a lot of time educating, frankly, me and others. I wasn't aware of this, what it is that is at the heart of the Commonwealth. And Commonwealth, as I hear it, is the notion that we come together in some capacity to advance the collective good. And we normally assume that that means in government. We all have to go to Richmond and pass a law, or we go to Washington and pass a law, and we wait years and years for action to happen. Or Spirit of Commonwealth is that physics story. A group of physicists and engineers in Virginia voluntarily came together and said, guys, you need to update this thing. And within months we said, okay, here, what do you need? You need tools. Okay, here's some tools. Here's a web-based wiki. Go have at it. And we encouraged them to use these tools, and we made sure that they followed the rules because the state education department was on board so that they weren't going off on their own. They had some support, but we didn't have to spend any money. We didn't have to build a program. No law had to change. We basically just tapped into the spirit of the Commonwealth. More and more of that's what's going to have to happen if we're going to make an impact on a lot of these indicators. And I'm just hopeful and I'm thankful that organizations like RAFOM are around because they are the place where those questions are going to be asked and will be pressured to provide the kind of information you need to be able to be effective in this community. That's what I do. This is my chance to share that story, and I thank you for your time. I'll take any questions that you may have.